Anthony Smith is back, and he's going to be fighting Ryan Spann in a rematch in Singapore. And I absolutely love this fight because it just makes that Singapore card even better. We also have Valentina Shevchenko and Alexa Grasso not fighting on a pay-per-view. Oh my gosh, what the hell, man? They're not on a pay-per-view. Who gives a fuck? All right? That's what we wanted. I'm happy as hell that they'll be headlining a fight night so that we have another stacked fight night card. You already know that the UFC is going to stack that fight night. 100%. And if they were on a pay-per-view, let's just be honest, it makes people want to buy it less. All right, when you're looking at a pay-per-view card and you see O'Malley and Sandhagen feature fight, and you see a John Jones Stipe main event, and in between that you see a Grasso and Shevchenko, you already know your energy is going to take a dip, and that's not going to make you want to buy it even more. I'd rather see another fight take up that co-main event spot. So back to Anthony Smith. This is going to be a rough one, guys, because I just don't know if this fight's going to be on paper, and this is the issue for Anthony Smith. If it's not a fight that's going to happen on his little sheet of paper, then he's not going to get that shit done. And I overestimated his abilities when he was going in there to fight Johnny Walker. Listen, that was a performance in which Anthony Smith looked terrible. And on top of that, after that fight, even though he owned up to having a terrible performance, he still came out and told us that he has a glaring weakness in his game. And that weakness is getting leg kicked. And he was like, dude, I can't for the life of me do anything about leg kicks. And yes, I respect his honesty, but on the same dime, I have to think about it from the perspective of Ryan Spann, aka whoever he's fighting next. They're going to be keen to take advantage of that. Oh, thanks, Anthony Smith, for telling everyone what your weakness is and also mentioning that there's nothing you can do to overcome it. I'm just going to chop down your legs. And if you've seen Ryan Spann, the guy has massive legs, and I think he's going to be able to leg kick him to shreds. And yes, Anthony Smith beat Ryan Spann last time. He knocked him out, which was one of the reasons why I picked Anthony Smith to beat Johnny Walker, because he kind of just mopped the floor with him. You know what I mean? And Ryan Spann had a really good fight with Johnny Walker. Oh, I'm sorry. He didn't beat Johnny Walker. Walker actually knocked out Ryan Spann, but he came close to beating Walker, and Walker's finish was a little bit suspicious because he was hitting Spann on the back of the head. But either way, Anthony Smith dropped him a couple of times and then wrapped up a submission. He must have brought the paper to the cage that day because he put it on there. You know what I mean? He definitely put it on there. I just don't think at this point in his career he's going to get this fight where he wants it. I don't think he's going to get this fight to the ground with Ryan Spann because he's going to get his legs kicked apart. And I think that Ryan Spann has improved and he's looked faster than ever. He's coming off of a loss. He got submitted by Nikita Krylov, but he still looked good in that fight, and he hurt Nikita Krylov, and he was threatening a submission over Nikita Krylov. And then in the fight before that, he fucked up Dominic Reyes. And I know it's the corpse Dominic Reyes at this point, and it's a very sad win because it's not that impressive. Dominic Reyes has like no chin anymore, and Anthony Smith at least has a decent chin. But look, he got dropped by Johnny Walker, and we know Walker has a lot of power in his hands, but if Walker can drop Anthony Smith with the hands, so can Ryan Spann. And I'm going to pick Ryan Spann to finish Anthony Smith within 2 rounds. And I just think he's rushing into this based on emotion, man. I don't think it's a good fight to take. He was calling out Dominic Reyes. Of course, he'd want Dominic Reyes to fight him because Dominic Reyes is a guy that you're going to hit once and he's going to go toppling down. Even though Anthony Smith isn't that great, he at least brings it and he's at least entertaining. So I'm looking forward to it, but I think he's going to lose this one. Yes, he's still only 35 years old, and a guy like Glover Teixeira has been champion as a 40-year-old man, but Smith has a lot of miles on him, and he doesn't have the same level of talent or skill as a Glover Teixeira, and he doesn't have great wrestling. So if he has issues on the feet with someone, he's basically a sitting duck. And let's also talk about that Valentina and Alexa Grasso fight. Not necessarily the X's and O's, because it is what it is. Like, it's going to be a fight. We're going to watch it. It's not that special. It's a title fight. All right, great. Come on. If you're really going to sit here and tell me that it's some kind of a disgrace that it's not on a pay-per-view, I think you're just making that up. I think you're trying to sound more hardcore than you need to be. You're making something out of nothing. All right? The UFC is giving us a layup. They're giving us a gift. They're probably going to stack this fight night card just like they did with Wonderboy and Holland, just like they did with Colby Covington and Woodley. They've put title fights as a headline for a fight night before. They've done it with Henry Cejudo and TJ Dillashaw. And to be fair, that was to kick off the ESPN era, and that was the way that they spun it. That was the way that they sold that fight. But still, just because it's a title fight does not automatically make it something that's going to move the needle. And I'm of the belief that if you were going to charge a good amount of money for a card, then all the fights on there need to move the needle. All right. And I am never going to pay $80, in part due to the fact that some Valentina Shevchenko and Alexa Grasso fight is on there. It's just, I don't care. All right. The fact that it's free is dope. And subconsciously, I'm thinking to myself, oh, title fight. That sounds really good. I wish they were to do this more often, you know? And the UFC is not oblivious. They're not just going to make it a shitty card. It's not going to be like a Raquel Pennington, and I'm just going to throw out like a Raquel Pennington and a Manon Fiorot. I don't care if they're not in the same division. I'll just assume that they are. Or a Tatiana Suarez, Raquel Pennington. Ooh, what an amazing fight. Like, it's not going to be one of those fight nights. They'll stack it just like they did when Colby Covington was fighting Tyron Woodley, or when Wonderboy was fighting Kevin Holland, right? That was like a gift to Kevin Holland because he had just taken the Hamzat fight, and the UFC wanted to repay him for getting his ass kicked and taking that on short notice, where he would clearly be at a disadvantage. And I am actually kind of excited for the fight itself, all jokes aside, because of course, Grasso got the upset last time. And I'm looking forward to seeing if Shevchenko, who has proven time and time again that she's one of the best fighters on earth, can beat Alexa Grasso without getting submitted if she doesn't throw that spinning back kick. But nonetheless, Grasso was doing well. Grasso was like piecing her up here and there with the hands. So I think that could give her a serious advantage going into this. Either way, it's dope because we are going to have a stacked fight night card. We're going to have an amazing pay-per-view in Australia. Well, to be fair, we can't say it's amazing yet because there really aren't that many great fights on it. We have an amazing UFC 292 card headlined by O'Malley and Sterling. That is absolutely stacked. We have UFC 290. We have UFC 291. We have UFC in the UK, which is in the middle of July. So the rest of the summer is going to be incredible. Usually August is a bit of a dry month, a stale month as well. And this time it's going to be stacked. We'll probably have a bit of a drop-off between mid-September and mid-October. They usually take a couple of weeks off. But the October card should pick up again. And as far as the November card, which will be MSG, I think that's going to be headlined by Colby and Leon, just because I don't think Jones is coming back. He's only opening himself up to one match, and that's Stipe. And we know Stipe is hard to get in the cage. But anyway, what do you guys think of this matchup with Anthony Smith and Ryan Spann? And what do you think about the fact that the UFC is putting Grasso and Shevchenko on a fight night? I think that most of you would really enjoy that, because if Nunes and Aldana was on a fight night, that would have been much better. Until next time.
What's up, guys? It's Lucas Tracy MMA, and I'm wondering if you're trying to look like Yoel Romero. Well, if you don't have his genetics, that's impossible, but I could at least help you get halfway there with my ultimate lifting program, and if you're a beginner, my novice lifting program. These are programs that I've used my 9 years of experience in the gym to make so that you can put on as much muscle as possible in as little amount of time as possible. And it'll also give you a variety of workouts so that you never get tired of the gym. So if you're interested, click the link in my description. And for a discount, use code MMA for 30% off.